Many subscribers on my NI YouTube channel. Am I live? Okay, it kind of. Wait a minute. I don't know why. Maybe I thought I turned my Wi-Fi. For those wondering about me and what I do, by the way, I'm back here in the Garden of Whedon. That needs a lot of work. Weather's been very rainy, and it's truly a Garden of Whedon. I'm going to be doing a lot of work out here in the weeks to come as time allows. So there's my excuse for the Garden of Whedon, okay? Um, so yes, I am a clergy. I do talk and if you will, preach. I pastor. I serve. I don't even know how many people in what I do in the community um, throughout Alabama, down the Gulf Coast, Tennessee, and all around through the Southeast. So I'm constantly, this is what I do. If you follow me on my Facebook pages, and I have more than one for various reasons, you will find that I am constantly talking about Christianity, the Bible, religion in general, and so forth. So this is part of who I am. My PhD is in theology. I was brought up in the world of Christianity, my pastor slash clergyman, and this has been my lifeblood. My views may be different than mainstream Christianity, may be different than what they teach you in your church. I would suspect that what I have to say is not welcome in your church. But let me kind of get to the point. First of all, this channel, I have a lot of stuff. I have a lot of stuff about weddings because I do a lot of weddings. I serve people that mainstream churches, Christianity, refuse for whatever reason to serve. So I am every weekend of the year I'm doing at least one wedding. It's just a common thing. It's what has grown in my retirement years. I also do a lot of historical things, from uh, videos about William Rufus Devane King, who was the highest elected official from Alabama that nobody talks about. He was the vice president, a founding father of Alabama. I visit a lot of cemeteries, make videos, other interesting places that are part of our history and where we come from and that sort of thing. I generally try to look for things that are not just, already overproduced on YouTube and whatnot. So I try to find things that are seldom seen or not heard of to put out there. So I've got those videos. And of course, then again, like I said, I've got a lot of wedding stuff. And then I've got my mini sermons on topics that I put out in different ways in little videos. So I personally, in a biblical view, believe myself to be in good company. Jesus was far from being popular or accepted in the church, temples, religious institutions of his day. He was at odds with them throughout his 33-year career. I'm putting this out also because this is what the Christians celebrate as Easter weekend. Today is Good Friday, the day they celebrate that Jesus being put to death. And then Sunday, they'll celebrate Easter, the day that the story shares that he was raised. So, pretty good day for me to kind of put this out. As I grew and I got my education, I always had a questioning mind. Things troubled me that the church was teaching. It did not feel right. It did not sink in with truth. I think truth matters. There's a lot of tradition, but Jesus talked about men putting tradition above truth. And so this bothered me. Easter eggs, colored eggs, bunnies. These are all clearly, blatantly pagan rituals. The celebration is designed to fall around the spring, first full moon of the spring equinox. And that's where we are. Of course, they shove it to a weekend so that they can, it's always on a Sunday and always on a Friday and so forth, which is whatever. I don't even, the whole thing gets to be ridiculous. And I don't mind standing up and saying this is ridiculous. It has nothing to do with a Jesus. It has nothing to do with a death and resurrection. It's all about the sun coming back over, passing over. Passover, passing over the equator, coming back in the northern hemisphere, life coming back to the planet in the northern hemisphere, and the trees are budding with blooms and flowers and allergies and sinuses and sneezing and all that stuff. And that's what it is really all about, and that's why I talk about it. I do not promote the original sin, inherited sin stuff. I promote the factual teaching, the factual history that the Bible is a Jewish book. It was written by Jews in a Jewish tradition, and was not, those stories are not meant to be taken literally. The Jews did not take them literally. They shared, and there was something to be learned from those stories. I say that Christianity has Elvis-sized Jesus. Bingo. I think you get what I mean by Elvis-sized Jesus. They totally toss aside the Sermon on the Mount, to pray in one closet, to, the blessed Beatitudes. Blessed are the meek, blessed are the humble, blessed are the peacemakers. Instead, they praise warriors. They fight against everything that Jesus taught about in mainstream Christianity. So I stand adversely, totally in the opposite direction of what most likely your church promotes. I don't believe that that little baby that just came out of the womb is born a sinner and inherited some sin factor. I think we're incomplete humans, and I think we're growing from generation to generation, and I believe those stories in the Bible, there can be a lot of things learned from those stories. I'm not knocking those stories, but not to be taken literally. And unfortunately, because the focus is on some supernatural aspect, what can be learned from those stories is totally missed. Praying in one closet. Why would Jesus say pray in one's closet? The motivation for the prayer. Why are you doing this in public? Why do you want to be seen by others? Why is it important to you to everyone know that you go to church and know that you do these things? It's because you're trying to please man, not God. I promote clearly that most of these people don't have a genuine belief in their God. They don't concern themselves with their adulterous acts until a human being catches them. It never bothered them that this all-knowing, all-seeing God saw them in the act. So it just never crossed their mind. But as soon as another human found out, they cry for forgiveness and so on and so forth. So anyway, that's kind of what it is. And that's, I think truth matters. I think honesty matters. I think part of our problem in society and culture is because we promote these ideas that are twisted, and they hinder our growth because we take literalism. We don't put things in context, and so we're constantly hindering our growth as a human species. So anyway, this is kind of what I do. In the meantime, I do serve all people, and I'm very glad and eager and happy to do so. I'm not God. I'm not Jesus. The only time I'm called God or Jesus is when another adjective is put on the end of it, and it never comes out pretty. The fact is that if you believe in a God, that's your choice, not my concern. Be genuine to your God. You're going to church. The Bible says that God does not dwell in temples made by the hand of man. Jesus was totally ostracized by his church temple, if you will, and he condemned them, and they condemned him. They called him a glutton and a drunkard, and they supported his demise that's being celebrated today. And one thing that always bothered me is the all-knowing, awesome creator God, loving God that did all this the best he could do because we messed up and our forefathers, Adam and Eve, ate this fruit from his tree. So thousands of years later, what we do, all he could do to come up with to resolve this situation is to put his son to death as a criminal. And now we eat wafers and drink a sip of wine or grape juice to celebrate this somehow, eating flesh and drinking blood, whatever. And it's like there's symbolism there. It goes back to the history of the Jewish nation, and it's totally missed by the church. It's totally not taught by the church, and billions of people are being misled. So anyway, this is what I do for what it's worth. I hope you're having a great day. I've got weddings, rehearsals, couples counseling tonight, and meetings. So nice, busy Easter weekend for me. Not in the vein of celebrating a death or a resurrection, but in the vein of serving people in need of being served. So I hope everybody's having a great day. The sun's shining, a little windy, a little cool. Feels good to me out here. Take care. Talk to you later. Subscribe. Hit the like button. Join me on this ride through life.